On. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rhythm. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on Sport.
A new week starts right here, right now, live on a Monday morning on the Early Line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination to consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern time to start off a new week following the entirety of the opening weekend, the 4 greatest days you will ever have on the sports calendar at the 2025 Men's NCAA Tournament. Our opening 2 rounds, the round of 64 and round of 32, are now in the books. The 16 schools that will continue to dance into the second weekend, and of course, a round known as the Sweet 16. We will set the stage for everything we will see unfolding in the madness as we speak, with a couple of days off to reset before we get to the second weekend of action in our 4 regional sites. That will be the focus, DRS, of what we look back on this weekend. But the NBA season coming down the stretch. Major League Baseball starts this week as well. I know you, host of Pro Baseball Today, are in the know. There is plenty to break down over these 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern.
Absolutely. Decompression Monday here. How much basketball can you fit in your life on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? Great all the way through to watch it play out. Could we have had a little bit more upsets, a little bit more buzzer beaters, which we finally got yesterday? Absolutely. But I'll tell you this right now. Baseball starts on Thursday, which is exciting. But did you check out that Thursday lineup in college basketball? Maybe one of the single best days and matchups you could possibly have. So wait a little bit longer here. Keep that energy high, because Thursday, boy, it gets going again in the Sweet 16, Ben.
But rest up, because it is important to make sure you are refreshed and ready for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Sweet 16, blending in to the Elite 8. And DRS, that is one of the stories so far in this 2025 Men's NCAA Tournament. With so many loaded teams around those top lines, we talked about the chance this could go chalk as you were filling out your brackets, probably ending up putting a bunch of 1 seeds into the Elite 8 and Final 4. That's not what we're used to for a tournament defined by its chaos and madness. We haven't had much chaos. We have no Cinderella runs really at this point. We only have 4 conferences even represented in the Sweet 16, led by 7 from the SEC. All of these storylines we will break down. But to DRS's point, because we have the heavy hitters still around at this stage into the second weekend of the Big Dance, we have some monumental and marquee matchups in store, leading to some great games, we believe, including DRS in a tournament that was lacking maybe a little bit of that late game drama, that was lacking a little bit of the madness it is defined by. Will enter Derek Queen in the Maryland Terrapins. 3.7 seconds left last night. Maryland down by 1 against Colorado State in a round of 32, 71-70. Who does Kevin Willard trust? The Big Ten Freshman of the Year in Derek Queen. High off the glass and in as the horn sounds to beat the buzzer as Maryland advances to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2016, 72-71. Our first true buzzer beater of the 2025 Big Dance.
Yeah, it was great to watch it all the way out, too. And I'll understand this. Like, Colorado State was game that entire way, and there might have been some questionable calls that would help Maryland out in the second half. But at the same time, you still got to win that basketball game on the court. A monster three-point shot goes down to Colorado State to take the lead. A fantastic play, and a player that just wanted the blankety-blank basketball at the right time and pushes Maryland into the Sweet 16. Great game. Stayed up for it. Glad I did.
Dissecting DRS, what is a gather step in college hoops? What is a half dribble in college hoops? Referees really disagreeing with what the call is on either side. Was it a travel? Was it 3 steps? Gene Steratore, who never disagrees with the officiating in the NCAA tournament, saying that based on the half dribble and where Derek Queen gets possession with 2 hands on the ball, it was not a travel, 2 legal steps, and high off the glass. But you can't have it both ways, people. You can't beg for late game drama and then dissect a call. Derek Queen beats the buzzer officially, and Maryland is on to the second weekend. CSU's magical run, winners of 11 in a row. That comes to a close, but the Rams do cover as a 7.5-point pregame underdog. DRS, we have all 1 seeds into the Sweet 16, but there was a chance yesterday that Florida was getting tested by the 2-time reigning national champions in UConn. Maybe the Gators would be the first 1 seed sent packing. But Florida and Walter Clayton Jr. down the home stretch coming up clutch. The Gators win 77-75, ending the hunt for history for Dan Hurley and his Huskies. 2 national championships in a row, not a third, as they are ousted in the round of 32. 77-75, Florida wins. UConn covers as a 9.5-point dog.
Yeah, both myself and Kevin watching this game live on set yesterday had a great time, and really at the half, 31-31, I was like, boy, UConn is giving the Florida Gators all they can handle, physical, mucking the game up, because a higher scoring game obviously benefited the Florida Gators, but it was played perfectly in the first half. It did get a little bit higher scoring in the second half, and Walter Clayton Jr. certainly rose to the occasion. 5 of 8 from three-point range, 23 total points. We're betting for 20-plus points on the set at plus money. 4 and 5 3-point shots going down.
Yeah.
That was fantastic to watch. But no shame in Houston's game. I even took the Florida Gators when they were down in the second half, -1.5, and still had to sweat out the final 30 seconds, as also people that looking at the total, depending on what time you got in, that late 3-point shot at the gun, boy, that hurt some people's wallets out there. But a great game all the way through. The Gators advance, and the UConn Huskies bid for back-to-back-to-back championships is now over.
Florida was up by 5 with just a few ticks remaining. UConn's freshman Liam McNeely hoists from deep. It goes down, going over a total pregame of 150.5. DRS, I was watching you and Kev yesterday at the break, talking about Walter Clayton Jr. needing to get going for Florida in the second half. You guys were all over it, allowing some plus money and some wagers to be had. The Duke Blue Devils, the other 1 seed in action yesterday in Raleigh, were not quite tested by the 9 seed in Baylor. A comfortable win for the Dukies, 89-66, winning by 23 and easily covering as an 11.5-point favorite.
I went 1 and 2 on prop bets yesterday, but one of my prop bets that was fantastic was Tyrese Proctor over 13.5 at a plus 100 number on the FanDuel Sportsbook. The man, take a look at his last 3 box scores from the 3-point line. He is absolutely unconscious and just letting it rip. And this was one of those, Ben, where he had 11 at the half, 13 early on, but wasn't scoring, but had a late flurry of 3-point shots in the final 5 minutes of that game. Duke 89-66. They look every bit as good as we thought they would be with a healthy Cooper Flagg in the tournament.
Yes, they certainly are. Cooper Flagg, by the way, 18 points, 9 boards, doing a little bit of everything. But it was Tyrese Proctor, one of the great three-point shooting days you will see in the big dance. 7 of 8 from deep. A wild one last night in the Northwest. Pac-12 after dark still lives, and Caleb Love is still dancing. 29 points as Arizona holds off Oregon to advance to the Sweet 16, 87-83. The Ducks do cover as a 4.5-point dog, but Caleb Love, 29 points to lead Zona into the second weekend.
That's why we play 40 minutes and not 15 minutes or 10 minutes where it looked like Oregon was going to whitewash Arizona with another washout of the tournament. Like, oh, so talented, just can't get it done. And shout out Caleb Love, who in game number 1 of the tournament didn't do me any favors. Game number 2, 29 points, was certainly the lead dog. Loved what I saw. Exciting game overall between Arizona and Oregon.
Opening weekend in the women's NCAA tournament comes to a close on this Monday. Some round of 32 action. Your heavy hitters, South Carolina, UCLA, the number 1 overall seed, and TCU get easy victories to advance to the second weekend.
There we go. Keep it moving. But they play them at the same time. I thought they took like a day or two off here at this point so we can focus on the women's tournament. I didn't even see any highlights until you just told me who won those games.
Monday in the round of 32 as well to end out this opening weekend. Some coaching changes in college basketball. Rodney Terry officially out. Sean Miller in Austin. And we are awaiting official confirmation on Ben McCollum heading to Iowa City to be the head coach of the Hawkeyes. More on the early line next. Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
They are a street ball team. They remind me of an and one team, right?
Yeah.
They are street ball fast, park fast, playing in the hood. They are no joke, McNeese.
Yeah.
They can beat anybody. They won 27 games as well for a reason.
It's a bracket. You trust the team to make a run. Feels good until it doesn't. And that's didn't feel good for all that long with Kansas.
Only on SportsGrid. That magical time of the year when everyone suddenly becomes a basketball expert. Highlight watching, mascot picking, bracket stressing. Sound familiar? Skip the guesswork with Bracket Central. Real expert picks, trusted analysis, and zero stress. Because choosing teams by mascot cuteness isn't exactly a winning strategy. Only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Live right here on this Monday morning on the early line on SportsGrid, reacting to everything we saw on the final day of the opening weekend in the round of 32 at the 2025 Men's NCAA Tournament. DRS, let's start with the first game of Sunday afternoon, a 12:10 p.m. Eastern Time tip in the 1-8 matchup in the West region. 1-8 matchup, 1 seed in Florida, favored by 9.5 points, but not just your usual 8 seed in the 2-time reigning national champion, Connecticut Huskies. And we knew that Dan Hurley and his Huskies would come out prepared. That's exactly what we saw. A tied game at the break, 31 all. Back and forth the entirety of those second 20 minutes, with UConn actually out in front for a good majority of it until Florida woke up at the end. And a stretch run led by clutch moments from Walter Clayton Jr. Florida edges out UConn 77-75. The number one seed in the West region is on to the second round, or the second weekend, I should say, in the Gators, in the two-time reigning champs. Dan Hurley's Huskies have their quest for a three-peat ended in the round of 32. 77-75, the victory for Florida. UConn does cover as a 9.5-point pregame dog.
Probably played as well as you thought UConn could, easily staying inside that number with a legitimate chance to win outright. That was a fantastic performance by UConn on that bid to try to get the back-to-back national championship games and do a feat that hasn't happened in quite some time. But understand this, too. Like, Florida shot 47% as a team from the three-point line with a bit of volume and won that game by 2 points. So now we take a look and say, okay, Florida is mortal as opposed to just absolutely laying waste to the SEC down the stretch and probably having some of the most impressive victories on their own season. But maybe none more impressive yesterday than Walter Clayton Jr. in the second half, late in the second half, taking control of that ball game. That's the sign of a champion here. It doesn't always have to go your way. You don't have to win by 25 points every game with easy walk-away victories. It's nice to have some adversity, which the Florida Gators did yesterday and handled it very well down the stretch. No shame in UConn, but I did see, I get a kick out of Danny Hurley. Like, I think he was saying Baylor, like, hey, don't let the refs job you like they did us. Like, we don't watch the game, which is good, in studio with any volume on. So you're not getting any commentary there that's going to jade your opinion. But at the end of that game, I never once said, oh, my goodness, UConn got the shaft here by the refs at that point. So I think he was just trying to be edgy at the end of the game. But no shame in UConn's game. It's hard to win against really good teams, and they fought hard, and they stayed inside the number with a chance to win. That's all you can expect. But Florida moves on as we thought they would.
A very late three from Liam McNeely, UConn star freshman. That was huge for you total backers, over 150.5 in a game that felt like a dead under for about 39 minutes and 45 seconds. That is Dan Hurley. He is always barking about something, even when the officiating is pretty fair on either side. He is always going to try to find that extra motivation. You would love the best effing coach in the sport to maybe not play it both ways, boo-hoo, crybaby, and the boisterous individual on the sideline. But hey, that's who he is. It is why Connecticut won 2 consecutive national champs. But their hunt for history and that third consecutive crown comes up short in the round of 32. Florida, the top team in the West region, on to the Sweet 16. West Regional action out by the Bay in San Francisco, the home of the Golden State Warriors, inside the Chase Center. Who will the Gators see as we focus on this portion of the bracket? That will be the Maryland Terrapins. We'll get to them in just a second. But DRS, bottom half of the West region, really one of the largest upsets that we saw in the round of 32. And the only double-digit seed to get into the second weekend, that is Arkansas. John Calipari and his Hogs pulling the upset and ending a magical year for Rick Pitino and St. John. 75-66 on Saturday afternoon in Providence. The Razorbacks into a Sweet 16 in Cal's first year in Fayetteville.
Yeah, and again, it is a little bit of a surprise, but when you boil it down, St. John's' issue this entire season was never the defense, was never the energy, was never the talent. It was shot-making ability. And when you play in big games at neutral sites, usually you can just lean on your defense and say, we've done this all season long. But what were the issues we've talked about with St. John's ad nauseum? Making the three-point shot. 2 of 22 from three-point range at 9%. They shot 28% as a team. Still had a chance technically to win that game, even though they played so poorly. But you can't do that. The only thing that helped you was Arkansas shooting 2 of 19 from three-point range. But at the worst moments, St. John's bit themselves. We worried about their offense during the regular season, and now we worried about it in the tournament, and they're now out of the tournament because of that porous offense.
And DRS, there was a lot of discussion down the stretch of that game. St. John's trying to fight its way back without its key contributors all year long. Kadari Richmond in foul trouble all Saturday afternoon against Arkansas. Fouled out with over 6.5 minutes remaining in regulation. And R.J. Lewis Jr. Big East Player of the Year, who was 3 of 17 from the floor in the game, was sat on the bench by Pitino down the home stretch when the Johnnies needed some sort of offense. Their best offensive player in Lewis riding the pine. It was clear to see his energy was not there. He was in a funk. Rick Pitino said after the game, you already know why he was sat on the bench and not on the floor in those critical moments. Donnie, as you were watching on Saturday afternoon, were you as surprised as everybody else that R.J. Lewis Jr. was not out there for the Red Storm in those clutch moments?
Live by the sword, die by the sword. You got to have your best players out there because then there's no excuses at that point other than you played poorly. And who knows if he could have turned it around. Based on the statistics, probably not. But Rick Pitino, I do get a chuckle. I was like, what? He played 30 minutes. How much more do you want the guy to play? Stop it. Stop with the excuses at this point right now. It was a bad look. They lost the game. Everybody's going to be angry and overanalyze anyway. There's no reason to overanalyze. Your best player is supposed to be on the court playing well or not playing well. He's got to be out there.
He's got to be out there, especially for a St. John's team starving for any offensive spark late in that game against the Razorbacks. So Arkansas advances to the Sweet 16. The first time since 2019 that John Calipari will see the second weekend of the Big Dance. The Hogs on the bottom half of that West region bracket. Who will Arkansas take on in the Sweet 16? That will be a very dangerous team out of the Big 12 in Texas Tech. We'll talk about that, our reactions from the weekend, look at where the West region stands, entering the round of 16, starting in just a few days. That's next on the Early Line on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Region by region, piece by piece, around the opening weekend of the 2025 Men's NCAA Tournament in all of the round of 32 action that we did see, and what it means, of course, for the second weekend of the Big Dance and the Sweet 16. We have started in the West region. Florida, the top team in this portion of the bracket, survives and advances past UConn 77-75. That a tight game, maybe the game of the tournament until later yesterday evening, because Maryland and Colorado State might have just taken the mantle. 71-70, CSU up by a point with under 5 seconds remaining in regulation after Jalen Lake buried yet another triple for Nico Medved and his Rams to take a late lead. Maryland inbounds the ball, gets it into the front court, calls a timeout. And as history will say in College Park, in that timeout huddle, Maryland head coach Kevin Willard asked his team, the Crab Five, his starting lineup all on the floor at the same time, who wants to take the final shot? And the Big Ten Freshman of the Year, the man from Baltimore, Derek Queen, said, as Willard quoted, "Give me the effing ball." And deliver, Derek Queen did. The king of College Park, Derek Queen, our first true buzzer beater of the 2025 Men's NCAA Tournament. High off the glass and in. Maryland wins and advances to the Sweet 16, 72-71 over Colorado State. The Rams were one of the hottest teams in the country entering the Big Dance DRS and this game last night. Winners of 11 in a row. They come up oh so short. Heartbreak for CSU, jubilation for Queen and the Terps. Colorado State does cover as a 7.5-point dog, but the buzzer beater in the legend of Derek Queen continues to grow.
Yeah, I thought it was actually a mistake where usually when you inbound the ball in your own baseline and there's only a couple seconds left, you're best just to take it to the rim yourself, maybe get a kick out. I thought the timeout was kind of a little bit, 3 seconds, 4 seconds left. Now what are you going to draw up? So the player had to make a great play, and he did, and credit him for the bank shot and an ultimate test of, give me that ball, I will will that ball in, and it happened. But shout out to Mountain West, who yesterday didn't come away with victories, but played hard in both of those games. And quite frankly, you watched that game all the way through, boy, Maryland couldn't make a shot midway through the second half. Colorado looks like they were seizing the day. But, again, the comebacks here are so much fun to watch with these kids on a day-to-day basis in the tournament, and have it culminate in a buzzer beater was great to watch. Like Nick Clifford, 7 of 17 from the floor, 21 points. They even showed the graphic up there. All-time leading scorer single season for the Colorado Rams accomplished in that game. And they probably thought they were going on. We can add to that statistic. But as always we see in the past, we love buzzer beaters. We love game-ending scenarios, and we finally got one with Maryland yesterday. It was a great look, a great game, and congratulations to Maryland moving on. No shame in Colorado State's game. Hot down the stretch, played well in the tournament, and almost knocked off one of the best teams in the country.
A conversation around a gather step and a third step. Did Derek Queen travel? Depending on how you feel about it, you're either a resounding yes or a resounding no. Regardless, history will show a made buzzer beater for the Big Ten Freshman of the Year. And by the way, the Maryland starting five, known as the Crab Five, in double figures all together yesterday for an 8th time this year, maybe even a 9th time this season, the most for any starting lineup in college basketball this campaign. Maryland on to the Sweet 16. They're a 6.5-point underdog against the top team in Florida, DRS, the rest of the West region. That was Saturday night in a Cinderella run for Drake, trying to pull off yet another upset against Texas Tech. But, Donnie, you've been high on this Red Raiders team under Grant McCasland, and for good reason. They look really strong right now. 77-64, the victory over Drake. The Red Raiders cover as a 6.5-point pregame favorite.
I'll tell you what's interesting, too, and I love the way that teams can win in different ways. We'll talk about Houston in just a little bit, where they can slow it down, or they can play a higher tempo and a higher scoring game and still win. Texas Tech's calling card is the three-point shot. Game number 1 of the tournament in the round of 64, they bombed away. Game number 2, they still won going away, 2 of 14 from the three-point line. Still waiting on Chance McMillan to come back if there's a chance, one of the best three-point shooters in the country. But I love that. Like, when you win ugly and are still able to advance, it shows you. You have the coaching, the moxie, and really good players that can dig in at the right time. It was a shame because I actually thought Drake had a legitimate chance of covering that number in that game, but just apparent. Like, when you're playing the upper-level teams now in the NIL, where it's like, hey, used to be, I can be a 4th or 5th year senior on this team, and I don't want to transfer because, number one, I'm not going to get paid. Number 2, I got to sit out an entire season. Now that you don't have to do that, you do take some of these hits with some of the lower to mid-majors at this point.
I'm not so sure that is the case. We had NIL last year, and we had magical runs as well. It just, Drake plays a very specific style that if it got over 126.5, that was going to favor Texas Tech, and it did. The West Region odds elsewhere around the opening weekend. Next.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The Sweet 16 in the West region is now set. Action in San Francisco at the home of the Golden State Warriors in our second weekend inside the Chase Center. In the number one seed in this portion of the bracket, Florida, of course, advancing to the second weekend as well. The Gators a 6.5-point favorite against Maryland. The team on the 4 line, Texas Tech, on to the second weekend. 5.5-point favorite against the only double-digit seed to see the Sweet 16. That is John Calipari and his Arkansas Razorbacks. 5.5-point number in favor of Texas Tech. Minus 130 DRS, the price for Florida to win the West region. That was basically their number entering the big dance as well. How do you see these 4 teams that will battle it out by the Bay starting this next weekend?
Usually still chalk at this point. Like, I love the Florida Gators, but the good part about that now is if you don't have a Florida Gators ticket or you didn't think Florida Gators could make it to the Final Four, you just got a little bit of optimism by going like, hey, you know, they would have blown out UConn by 20 points yesterday. It's like, well, why did I even bet against Florida? So at least you know that when the competition is elevated on a single game basis and now moving to another gym where it's going to be on a neutral court that you're not used to after playing in the rounds of 32 and 64 does make it a little bit tougher. But I'm not down on Florida. I love that game because it shows moxie where you can play team. And this isn't any team. This is a team that won back-to-back national championships that had a chip on their shoulder thinking that we can't do it again and we can't compete. 31-31 at the half and took the lead in the second half as it looked like UConn might be able to pull off the upset. But that wasn't the case. Florida is deep. Florida is talented, and they use that to their advantage. So for me, I still look at the price points. They're accurate. But again, if you're going against Florida, at least you have that little sliver of optimism like, okay, somebody might be able to beat this team.
And DRS, when you look at a projected number, if both of our favorites win on Thursday night. This is the Thursday-Saturday split, along with the East region by the time we get to the second weekend. You got to think Florida's a 3.5-point favorite at bare minimum against the Red Raiders as you kind of read into these lines right here for what would be the West Regional Final on Saturday night for a spot in the Final Four in San Antonio. Let's get to the round of 32 in the action we saw in the East region. Our national championship favorites and the top team in this portion of the bracket, the Duke Blue Devils, playing yesterday in Raleigh in one of the early games in the afternoon. Frankly, Donnie, it was the largest spread of the day. And for me on Sunday, every spread felt very fitting, some very sharp numbers. I wasn't entirely sure if I had great edges in most games, except for this one. I thought Duke was going to rout Baylor. That's exactly what we saw. The Blue Devils, as an 11.5-point favorite, win by 23, 89-66. Duke looks the entirety of the part of a national title favorite with that 23-point win, led by a huge day from deep, 7 of 8 for Tyrese Proctor. He finished with 25 points. And Cooper Flagg, 22 minutes in the opener against the Mount, 28 minutes yesterday, 18 points, 9 boards, and 6 dimes. That left ankle looks very, very comfortable and healthy right now for Duke.
No weaknesses for Duke. I mean, that's the game plan. Like my analysis coming into is Baylor will let you shoot the 3-point shot and Duke can shoot it. And that's why I focused on Proctor, the hottest 3-point shooter in the country right now. And they were just bombing away. But when you have the size that Duke has, when you have the talent that the Duke Blue Devils have, like Cooper Flagg, and then you have the guard play that they have mixed involved, it's like everything has to go wrong for Duke to get beat. And as long as you have one of those 3 things working, you should be just fine. And you saw that. Like, Baylor's a good basketball team, winning an 8-9 matchup to advance to play Duke, and it wasn't even close. 47-30. It was a wrap at the break, and Duke even won the second half by more points, 89-66. This is why coming into the tournament, the question was, how healthy is Cooper Flagg going to be, when we really should have been just looking at, boy, when Cooper Flagg's not out there, are they still a top 10 team in the country? Then you add the best player back in the mix. That's what you're getting now. So I think the questions have been answered for the Duke Blue Devils. Not that they're not a good basketball team, but Flagg is now 100% healthy and gets an extra couple days off before they get to the Sweet 16. All systems go for the Duke Blue Devils right now.
A plus 290 price for Duke entering the big dance to cut down the nets exactly 2 weeks from right now in San Antonio. Make it a plus 240 price as we enter the second weekend. The odds growing ever so slightly shorter. Let's go to the bottom portion of that of the East region, in a matchup we saw yesterday afternoon. 2-7 split between Alabama and St. Mary's. Donnie, a fascinating game because two contrasting styles on full display. The Crimson Tide, the fastest team in college hoops. St. Mary's, the 5th slowest pace in all of college basketball. What would win out? Yesterday, it was the Crimson Tide, 80-66, knocking off St. Mary's. The Crimson Tide covering as a 5.5-point favorite. Our pregame total of 149.5 did actually stay under. Highest number of the year for the Gales. Lowest number of the season for Alabama. Does stay under, but Alabama comfortable. St. Mary's really playing from a deficit all 40 minutes long, DRS. Never really could stay within striking distance.
That's the issue when you're the underdog, but also when the underdog that plays at a slow pace, as we talked about Drake. You have to have the lead. You have to dictate the circumstances of that game, and they weren't able to do that. And quite frankly, they weren't favored to do that either. Like, Alabama was supposed to impose their will, and they did. And we say this so many times. When you're an underdog against a team that's better than you from a better, let's just say, conference, you must shoot the lights out from three-point range. 3 of 14, 21% for the Gales. That's not really their game, firing away from three-point range, but you better be efficient. You shoot 14 times, you better make 8 or 9 of those just to make sure that they understand and can respect you from the three-point line. But once again, shout out Alabama against a good defensive team in St. Mary's. They shot almost 52% from the floor. Hey, nobody's questioning that. Alabama's really good. I just wanted to see a little bit more out of the Gales to sort of maybe turn that vice grip defense up and slow the game down. They couldn't do that. Why? Because Alabama's just better.
Alabama got tested by Robert Morris in their round of 64 opener on Friday afternoon. The Crimson Tide have not taken nearly as many threes as they are accustomed to this year. If that starts to flow for the Crimson Tide, of course, we could see them in the East Regional Final, presenting a very difficult matchup for Duke. All that we will see in the East region will be housed inside the Rock in Newark, New Jersey this upcoming weekend. And DRS, you mentioned the three-point shot. St. Mary's not great last night, 3 of 14. There has been a lot of conversation. why have we seen a lack of madness so far in this NCAA tournament? It is the transfer portal era. Is it NIL bringing the best from lower levels, now playing for high major programs? Is it conference realignment, which we will discuss in just a moment? I think it's a little part of everything, but it's also just the basketball games we have seen. Donnie, what do you say is the great equalizer in college basketball night in, night out?
Dropping the three-point shot always keeps you in the game because no matter what happens, hey, we're physically dominant on the other end. Yeah, last time I checked, threes beat twos here and can change the momentum very quickly. And by the way, like Florida, like we're not talking about like mid-majors. Like Florida changed that game late by dropping some three-point shots. We also seen some teams struggle. If you can make the three-point shot, you will always be in the basketball game. If you're underdog and you don't make threes, you don't have a chance.
And, Donnie, we saw 10 double-digit seeds play on Friday. This is a great stat from Kevin Sweeney, who does great work covering college basketball. The idea of that three-point shot being the great equalizer is always going to be critical. Of those 10 double-digit seeds that played on Friday, 9 of the 10 shot worse than 30% from deep. The only one above that number, led by Kyan Evans for Colorado State, were the Rams, who did knock off Memphis despite being a slight favorite in that game. We know the three is key. We saw that on full display as well Saturday night in Denver, a game where we expected some offense. A great game flow anticipated between Wisconsin and BYU, the 3-6 matchup in that East region. In points we got, three-pointers we got, in some late game drama. Wisconsin had a chance, trailing by double digits late in the second half, fought the way back. They were down by 2 with possession, about 15 ticks remaining. They trust John Tonje, who comes up short. BYU excels, BYU survives. On to the second weekend for the first time in a long time with a 91-89 victory. It was basically a moneyline pick-em price. The Cougs win outright.
We expected that to be one of the best games in the tournament, and it lived up to the billing in a 2-point game, 3-point shots, high tempo across there. But by the way, people, for you upset that there's no Cinderellas, bite the bullet in the first 2 rounds because you get a much better Sweet 16 Elite 8. Everybody loves the Cinderellas, so they got to play their next game.
We continue recapping the weekend next. Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They are a street ball team. They remind me of an and one team, right?
Yeah.
They are street ball fast, park fast, playing in the hood. They are no joke, McNeese.
Yeah.
They can beat anybody. They won 27 games as well for a reason.
It's a bracket. You trust the team to make a run. Feels good until it doesn't. And that's didn't feel good for all that long. Kansas.
Only on SportsGrid. That magical time of the year when everyone suddenly becomes a basketball expert. Highlight watching, mascot picking, bracket stressing. Sound familiar? Skip the guesswork with Bracket Central. Real expert picks, trusted analysis, and zero stress. Because choosing teams by mascot cuteness isn't exactly a winning strategy. Only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Round of 32 action from the weekend that was. Let's focus on the East region once again. Wisconsin and BYU DRS, a game that you were looking forward to if that was the second round matchup that we saw. Two offenses that can score, two defenses that will allow you to score the basketball. And BYU continues to be on this absolute heater. They have won 11 of their last 12. Their only loss in the Big 12 semifinals in terms of that conference tournament against Houston. They edge out Wisconsin for their first berth in the Sweet 16 since 2011 when a guy named Jimmer Fredette was lighting it up from deep as well. 91-89 BYU, a slight underdog. They win outright in Denver, a total of 156 in a hook. Skies way over at altitude.
Yeah, again, the ultimate equalizer sometimes is a three-point shot. And both of these teams are very good teams. No Cinderellas here. Both play in big conferences. Both shoot the three-point shot well, but sometimes it just comes down to who shoots it just a little bit better, and that was the BYU Cougars. It's nice to have, like Richie Saunders, 30 minutes out there, 9 of 16 from the floor, 3 of 4 from three-point range, 25 points. He's been there all season long for BYU. The question always with BYU isn't like, all right, can they score on offense? And you can bomb away from three. And they've won some big games in the Big 12 doing that. But sometimes you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You don't play great defense. Sooner than later, that your three-point shots don't start to fall as the competition does start to get better. But I'm impressed by BYU. It's one of those teams you love to watch play, as we said, because the pace is fun. Not great defense, gets to the line, makes their free throws, shoots the hell out of the ball from the three-point line, and can certainly do some damage. I loved what I saw there. I had Wisconsin moving on in my bracket, but obviously BYU, sort of fun. And when we talked about the opening of the tournament, this was the game we were circling, even for me, because I thought VCU had a legitimate chance to knock off BYU, which they didn't. And whoever played Wisconsin was going to be a great game just to watch, and it certainly lived up to the hype, which is what I'm most thankful for there. Didn't win money on it, but I did enjoy the game itself.
Yeah, it was a great one. John Tonje in his final game in college in a Wisconsin uniform, 37 points, but coming up just short on a bucket that would have tied the game, at least probably sending it to OT. Let's round out the East region. Our final game of the opening weekend that went into the wee hours of the night and early on this Monday morning out in Seattle. Pac-12 After Dark still lives on despite a game between Arizona and Oregon, between a Big 12 and a Big 10 team. But it was great all 40 minutes long. Oregon gave Arizona a test as a 4.5-point underdog, but the Wildcats, led by 29 points from Caleb Love, do prevail, 87-83. Arizona on to the second weekend for a second consecutive year under Tommy Lloyd, and Caleb Love will get a chance to go after Duke once again.
Yeah, he will. 87-83. Great game overall to watch. I always said Arizona entering in the tournament had one of the highest ceilings. Like when they bring their A game, they're really tough to beat, and they have a chance to pull off some upsets as they get later, which they're looking to do now. But also signs of adversity. Like Oregon came out hot in that game. Arizona was cold. Oh, look at that. Another bad tournament there for the Arizona Wildcats getting knocked out, but that wasn't the case, and Caleb Love really pulled through. 37 minutes, 10 of 18 from the floor, which equated to 29 points. Burned me a little bit on Friday night when I had a parlay in, need him to get the 15 points. Why is he not shooting? Well, I was like, you know what? Saving my legs for round number 2 where I knock down 5 of 7 triples out here and be the superstar player I know I can be. Solid game, solid 2 teams there. It's just that Arizona was better in that moment, and credit them for not to say they were going to give up in the first couple minutes, but hanging around, weathering the storm, and playing better basketball.
But, Donnie, both you and I live this weekend on our Bracket Central coverage here on the SportsGrid network. I have very rarely seen what I saw at the very beginning last night in terms of an odds flip in a college hoops game. Oregon, again, a pregame 4.5-point underdog, got out to an absolutely sensational start, leading 17-4 with just more than 5 minutes gone at the first media timeout against Arizona. 4.5-point dog before the game got started, up 17-4, 5 minutes in. The Ducks quickly flipped to a 4.5-point favorite. A slight favorite, fine. A complete flip on the number, crazy. Arizona was ahead at the break, 42-38. So always having those live betting opportunities in these back-and-forth college basketball games, important to pay attention to. So the East region will be housed in beautiful Newark, New Jersey, inside the Prudential Center, affectionately known as The Rock. in DRS. We've got the 1 seed in Duke taking on the 4 seed in Arizona. We've got the 2 seed in Alabama taking on the red-hot 6 seed out of the Big 12 in BYU. Again, Duke, a hefty favorite to win this portion of the bracket. Before the big dance got underway, it was minus 140 at the start of last week. It's now minus 170 because the Blue Devils, again, looking the entire ilk of a national championship frontrunner.
It looks tremendous, too. Like, you just look at that graphic, understanding the teams that are advancing and how much fun each and every one of those teams in, which is what we talked about to open up the show. That Thursday, I'm not doing any, look, Friday's still going to be good. But Thursday just feels like the main event all the way through with absolute bangers all throughout the night, which I'm excited to watch. And it's not just, hey, one team's going to slow it down. Like, I'm talking about up-tempo, three-point shooting, superstar athletes out there. That is going to be an unbelievable time there Thursday night, certainly in Newark.
You know Caleb Love is salivating. His second year in Tucson. The last time that he played the Duke Blue Devils, or one of the last times that he played the Duke Blue Devils, of course, was in the Final Four in the Big Dance, ending Coach K's career with a hugely clutch 3 late in that game. 8.5-point spread, however, in favor of the Blue Devils. A total at 153.5. I do like that number. Duke will play up tempo if the game does dictate it, but you want to talk some high totals. 174.5 for the first game of Thursday night in the opening matchup of the Sweet 16, Alabama and BYU. Yes, you are paying a premium, but DRS, I wouldn't be the guy running to the window to have an under ticket for this matchup.
No, and let me get a PSA out there quickly, because the cluster games last night, okay, I can deal with it. Some of those got over later. That's a travesty what's going to take place for us, the public, on Thursday night. When you know in the same building, look at Arizona Duke, a 9:39 tip time on the East Coast, which you know isn't going to tip till probably 9:50. That is an absolute joke. They don't make money. They make so much money, they leave money on the table. That's the only thing I can fathom at this point.
Tip times in the Big Dance are always a confounding thing, DRS. Out in the West region, our second game of the night is scheduled to tip at 10:09 p.m. Eastern Time. More on the early line next.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
This is rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on the early line, rounding out our opening hour on this Monday morning, but recapping the entirety of the opening weekend in the 2025 men's NCAA tournament. We have gone day by day, Saturday to Sunday, in region by region around the 2025 bracket. West region, East region in the books. Those two regions will play on Thursday, our opening games on the first night of Sweet 16 action. South region, Midwest region, Friday, Sunday split for the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. Let's start in the South region, DRS, to end out this opening hour with the number one overall team in the 2025 Big Dance, that being the Auburn Tigers. Auburn taking on Creighton on Saturday night in a really good game for most of it. Creighton even led by 2 at the break before the Tigers showed their might and rallied in the second, led by their freshman from Jersey City, New Jersey, Tahad Pettiford leading the charge off the bench. Auburn victorious 82-70. The Tigers even cover as a pregame 8.5, 9.5 point favorite, ending what was a magical run for Creighton in Lexington. Auburn, as expected, on to the Sweet 16. But DRS, it hasn't been picture perfect, perhaps, for all 80 minutes. Auburn has been on the floor. They dropped 3 of their last 4 entering the Big Dance. What have you seen out of Bruce Pearl and his team so far in their first 2 matchups in the tournament?
Still finding their way. And again, when we talk about finding their way, being the number one overall team in the country, not, hey, we're finding our way as a top 20 team. Let's see what we can do. The expectations are extremely high for Auburn. And understand this, like, Auburn beat a really good Creighton team by double digits, and we're still questioning, what's wrong with Auburn, which I love, which means they're not playing their best basketball and still winning by a comfortable margin as they did. Janai Broome, one of the best college basketball players in the country, 34 minutes, 8 total points, and you still won by double digits. These are the games that I take a look at where most people say, I don't know about that. Or they look at the Florida Gators. That was a close game against UConn. Maybe they should have won by more. I love this because if you're not playing your A game with your best basketball players and still winning games like this one comfortably by double digits, that's a great sign. Because when Janai Broome turns on and plays 34 minutes and drops 34 points, then you're going to know Auburn is back. I'm not worried. I'm not panicked. It was a good victory. And also understand this. Creighton came out of the gates red hot again from three-point range. Like, isn't this something? They're going to ride this out and be able to knock off Auburn. Credit for Auburn for making the adjustments, because when we talk about the three-point shot being the ultimate equalizer, it was in the first half. As we said, Creighton had the lead. The better team in the second half made the adjustments, and the cream typically rises to the top, and it did. 47-33 in the second half, a big-time victory for Auburn. I'm not panicked. I like what I see. It's only going to get better for Auburn.
23 points for Pettiford, the freshman off the bench. Janai Broome, the SEC Player of the Year, the star for Auburn in Wooden Award consideration, has not been great so far in the Big Dance, so that could be a redeeming factor for the Tigers as they figure things out with a few days of rest moving forward. Chad Baker-Mazara had 17 points. He was really Auburn's leader for most of the game. Did not play the final few minutes after taking a knee to the ribs, it looked like, on a foul late in that second half. We'll see about his status moving forward. Creighton was red hot to start from 3 in Lexington, as they were on Thursday inside Rupp Arena against Louisville. 9 of 14 in the first half, kind of faded in the second. The Auburn Tigers, yes, it has famously been shared now. They have dropped 3 of their last 4. No team has won a national championship, losing 3 of their final 4 entering the NCAA tournament. But not all 3 losses are made the same. Still feel confident about where Auburn stands as the top team in the South region. Bottom portion of the bracket had to be figured out yesterday. Michigan State, the 2 seed, taking on New Mexico, the 10 seed in the regular season champs out of the Mountain West. It was really close for about 33 minutes in that basketball game, but at the end, the depth, strength, and defensive tenacity for MSU came through. Michigan State wins by 8, 71-63 to hand the Lobos a loss and send New Mexico packing from the NCAA tournament. Sweet 16, number 16 for Tom Izzo in his coaching career.
You look at the box score. It's so Michigan State, that game, it absolutely hurts because you watch it go through. They just make the right plays. Frankie Fiddler out there making the clutch play after clutch play late, and that's the guy that's coming off the bench. They shot 44% from the field, 26% from three-point range, and 67% as a team from the free throw line, and still won by 8. It's a Tom Izzo team. They are used to playing grimy and winning games like this. But by the way, The Lobos were in this all the way through, man. I felt bad for them because, Patino, Pop was watching there. Maybe they could pull the upset and advance, but Michigan State just too headstrong at this point. It's what we expected. They just went ugly, and that's what they love to do.
We'll talk more about this game on the other side. Michigan State wins by 8, even covering as a pre-game 6.5-point favorite. Hour 2 up next.